Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Bob. How's it going?
We've got an exciting one for you today. We are chatting with Andi. Andi, I believe this is your third time officially on the Ski Essentials YouTube channel. So people may be familiar with you already, but please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes. Hey, folks. I'm proud to be there or to have the opportunity to meet you guys. So I think it's correct. It's the third time. I was once there live in the studio, which was for sure the biggest pleasure. And back in that days, I was still working for Vocal as a product manager. Meanwhile, I've switched to Marker, being responsible for the whole brand of Marker as a global brand director, which is for me a homecoming because that's where my roots are. I started off at Marker in basically 25 years ago as an engineer. So, and also the company is exactly just 20 minutes from where I've been raised and grown up. So yes, that's my home. And now I'm back.
Very cool.
Sweet.
What is your official title? This is semantics, but is that for all of Marker products?
Yes, it's for all of Marker products, and that means bindings, plates, helmets, goggles, but the majority of the business is for sure plates and bindings.
Yeah. That's what we're going to be focused on today, which is exciting because I feel like we've had several conversations with you on camera. We've talked with you off camera, and I don't recall ever really talking about bindings.
Yeah, that's true. But I think now is a very good time to talk about bindings because I think, especially looking at the freeride segment, the biggest step in binding development, especially in regards of how it feels from a skiing perspective or what it enables me as a skier, is currently to be taken place with the introduction of the new X binding, because the lowering of the stand height substantially is something that you can really feel and that really enables you more than I think any development step in the last decade in the binding sector. So cool. Good timing to talk about bindings.
Yeah, no, that's obviously a big reason why we're here. Exciting new binding. Bob, you and I, we both skied it.
Yep.
We did a little kind of first impressions video already. Andi, I'm just curious from a really generalized perspective. Obviously, in the industry, people talk about skis a lot. We talk about skis a lot, but just in general, in your opinion, why are bindings such an important piece of equipment?
Because they're the connection between your body with your boot on your feet and your ski. And that connection can either be, let's say, helpful or neutral or even negative if it's not, let's say, suiting the needs of the skier, or if it's not really fitting perfectly to boot and ski, because you can do a lot of mismatches also. Like you can ruin a ski with the tuning, you can also ruin a ski with the binding, I think, with the wrong one.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I always kind of refer to the binding as the steering wheel of the ski. Like when someone would ask, what's the deal with bindings and how do you say that there's a difference? And it's like you said, that connection between your hands and the wheel or your feet and the ski. One of them is certainly going to drive the ski better than the others. And people who have driven cars seem to understand that analogy. So yeah, I think the connection's a big part of it.
I think that's really a very good analogy. It's like the seat is somehow the boot because it's in a race car or so. The seat is really individualized to the race driver, but the steering wheel is exactly what you say, that brings the steering input either very precisely and very direct, or let's say with a certain elasticity and a bit more forgiving, uh, to the tires, to the car, and therefore to the road. And that's also how the binding works, I think. And it's not a question of a good and a bad steering wheel. It's more a question, does it fit to the rest of the car and to what it's built for, than rather than is it a good or a bad one, I think. So it's more about creating the perfect setup.
Yeah. And I feel like that's, I don't think we're going to solve the world's problems today, but I feel like
might.
that feels like one of the harder things for skiers to understand. It seems like, and that's natural with human nature and consumerism, as we've talked about, is it feels like people want to know what the best binding is.
Right.
And that is a very hard question to answer because there's so much subjectivity to it.
Yeah, and people don't ski different bindings like they do different skis. So people are not only seem to be more brand.
Yeah. I know
Sorry,
what you mean.
you
Loyal.
know, loyal. Thank you. They're either brand loyal or they go with what's most expensive and best.
Right.
So it's not like your people are mostly bouncing between a Griffon or a Strive or an Attack. Like, it doesn't seem like people do that. They don't have multiple bindings mounted on different skis. They're generally going to have Griffons or
Right.
something like that. So you don't understand the differences. And even in our world, when we're on demo bindings so much, we don't get a lot of that. It's only in this case where we got to ski those drill-mounted new Griffon and Jester X's that there was definitely a larger difference that we could tell.
Great segue, Bob.
Nailed it.
So we'll get to the fun part. Brand new binding, Griffon X13 M-Werks. Is that a correct title?
Yes.
And Jester X16 M-Werks.
Yes.
They're really cool, and I kind of want to start from the beginning. And obviously, we don't need to take forever to tell this story, but like I'm curious as what was the why? Where did the idea for this new binding come from? Was it athlete driven? Was it engineer driven? Was it marketing team driven? I'm curious where it all started.
Well, I would say it's probably typically marker vocal. It was not really marketing driven. It was really, I mean, we're a product company, and we're pretty much either engineering or skier driven. For sure, the vision was coming from the skiers. And it was in a very close cooperation with the engineers. And sometimes, and especially on the marker side, you also can't really divide that because marker is basically 15 minutes, 20 minutes from the next ski resort, or so. It's a resort-based company. And every engineer that works there is a skier and is a frequent skier, or even has a background in professional ski racing or whatever. So there is a high competency in the engineering department of marker, not only in engineering but also in skiing. And this means that it goes a lot hand in hand. And then there's always the exchange with the athletes, either on the racing side or also, of course, on the freeride side. And if we have a look on what was the idea, then there is, of course, always the wish being as, let's say, intuitive as possible. And that is standing in the way of intuitively is too much stand height. There are scenarios where you need stand height on a narrow racing ski, for example, where you have a high risk of booting out when you don't have a certain stand height. It's clear you need it, or it's just if you want to go to a certain extreme edge angle on a narrow ski, you need stand height to not boot out. But on every freeride skis that, or even all mountain skis that is in the mid 80s or wider, the risk of boot out is low or even zero, because the average boot is the ISO sole is always 70 millimeters wide. And then the boot, if you are a sportive skier, has a last of maybe low mid 90s, or if you are comfortable in the hundreds. So even by mathematics, that means once you are on a mid 90 ski, you need to have an over 90-degree edge angle to boot out. So that's bullshit, right? And that means on a freeride ski or on an all mountain ski, it really makes no sense to stand higher than is absolutely technically necessary just to build in everything we need. And that was clear for us. Okay, we want to be more intuitive. We have to go as close to the snow as possible. And I think there are also other reasons. We can talk about them later if you want and go more into the detail. But that quickness of edge change and that intuitive feel, it might probably has been the one factor that you felt the most when you tried it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's up there for sure. I don't know. Have you slid many rails in your day, Andy?
No, not really. So I'm clearly I have a ski instructor background, so I'm traditional skiing background, not in the rails a lot.
You're not wrong that like I felt the early tip-in engagement, or just like the precision of initiating a turn and like picking up your edge, but I was blown away because as a park skier, I've just always kind of like intuitively thought that I wanted to be as close to the snow as possible, and particularly sliding rails, I felt like my feet were on the rail, and it like I never really thought about it as just intuitive. But that, like, if I want to pick a word for it, that's what it felt like. Is it just made everything feel so much more natural.
And I think that's the cool thing, regardless whether you're a free rider or a freestyle person, park, or an all mountain skier that looks to rip the groomers with his 88 millimeter all mountain freeride ski, as of going lower.
Yeah, so like, and I'm glad you said, I mean, this was a question that I was thinking of asking, and I wasn't sure if you were going to have an answer or not, but it sounds like you think that kind of that mid 80 width range is around where the cutoff is. Because I was going to ask, like, you know, what skis would you say the new binding is not appropriate for? And I was genuinely curious, and I'd be curious in your opinion too, Bob, or if you had similar assumptions. I did not really expect you to include something like the Mantra 88. And it sounds like that would be an excellent choice to pair with the new binding.
Yes. So I would say the low limit is roundabout probably around 80. But normally those kinds of bindings don't even go on a ski as narrow. Or I mean, if I think about the vocal range, the narrow ski that I can imagine where it makes sense is the new Mantra 84.
Yeah.
That we have. On an 88 or an 84, because I think those skis are predominantly be seen on groomers and probably on hardpack. And I think one thing is very important. We may like it or not, but the truth is, or the reality is, that they all face more and more days on hardpack, just because of how the weather patterns and the climate change thing develops. Or this means if we want to have fun on an all-mountain ski or even on a freeride ski, it's getting more important that it is really capable to handle also these kind of conditions without us losing fun using those skis. And I think that's important for the consumer, but that's also important for the dealer within the future. You always have the motivation that your customer or your consumer walks back to your store and says, okay, whatever I encountered in terms of conditions, it was the right choice that I've bought. And with the climate change going on, I think a freeride ski, even if it's 100 millimeter or wider, it should be capable of handling hard packed snow just better than it was probably 5 years ago. And in 5 years from now, it will probably even be more meaningful. So I think on those narrow skis, quick edge change, quick rolling, and as effortless rolling and as intuitive rolling from one edge to the other is definitely very, very important, I think.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
I mean, I found them to be that to almost a disturbing degree with the M7. You know, I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, I remember
it
you
was just
like being ready for the precision.
Yeah, it was one of those things that took another minute to figure, especially with a precise ski like that M7 that has a lot of power to it. That is just, if you add more precision to it with a system like the binding, then you're really kind of exponentially growing the character of that ski. So I was caught off guard, and I was amazed at how much, just that much lower. And it's not just that much lower, it's a lot lower.
It's a lot lower
than everything else.
Yeah,
so
it's like when you put it, if you have like a side-by-side comparison,
yeah,
I mean, it's like 100% lower. Not 100, it's like 50%.
It's a lot lower.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's way, way lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
from like 19 to down to 9 millimeters in the toe?
Yeah.
So it's more than half of it, or more than 100%. So it's a big step. It's not just a millimeter here or 10% there. It's really significant. It's a centimeter.
Yeah. How did you
And
decide?
what you said, sorry, just to pick up what you said, is very interesting, because I think I have the same feeling. It's in the first moment, you're just a little bit surprised how precise it is. And this comes especially when you demo skis and you use a lot of demo bindings, which are by their nature always a little bit more on the imprecise side. And then you go on a screwed binding, and then especially on that new one, the difference is even stronger, and you have to adapt yourself. This, I think, there is one thing worth knowing, or even important knowing. The low stand height is only one part of the secret with the M-Werks bindings. The second topic is that we have a lot of magnesium parts, so metal instead of plastic parts, and it's the toe is a monoblock, which the old piece was consisting of more pieces, the old binding in the toe, and now we have a monoblock, and that is something that, together with these metal sole holders, is very, very direct. And I'd say, think into the future, you will be able to expect a version below the M-Werks, because the M-Werks is like if you buy a BMW in the M version, like it's the really maximum horsepower version. And it's very clear that for the wide mass market, something below the M-Werks with the same stand height but with less metal, and therefore a less direct engagement makes sense. So you have then the benefit in the future of the low stand height, but not the demand of all these metal parts in it, which for sure make it a product for, I would say you can somehow compare it with a race binding.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I bet the market would respond well to that.
Yeah, especially if it's at a slightly more palatable price.
That's what I was alluding to. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the toe, because the toe is really, really cool, and it's easy for me to forget about. But when I got the Jester X and put it on a Revolt 96, and like I had never seen it before, and went straight to just mounting it, and that was the first thing that I kind of noticed, is just like holding that toe piece. I was like, this is a solid like tool.
Yeah.
You know, this is a purpose-built tool, a well-made tool.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. What else? I know it's a shorter footprint, kind of, right?
Yes, it's shorter in the toe and also in the heel piece. So it's not only lower, it's also shorter. That's true. I think that's also something that is important, because we always strive for not messing up with the ski's flex line as good as possible.
Right.
And of course, you're just limited in doing so, because the boots have a certain length and you somehow need to get on the ski. But it's clear the shorter you can go, the better it is, because the longer the toe part or the tip part of the ski that can flex and build up freely is working. And if I look in my role that I've had on Vocal, one thing that we've recently looked a lot into in ski development was just the 30 centimeters in front of your foot tip. So
Yeah.
just to get a very easy and quick, effortless, far-reaching build up to dive deep into the turn with low effort. And of course, a short binding is something that is contributing and supporting that.
Yeah, that's something you can feel on snow as well as the stand height. And even with that, again, to the M7, like when you get the flex of that ski and these skis with their Titanal frames that, you know, are certainly fine-tuned to achieve a different type of flex.
Yeah.
Like you feel that a lot more with that shorter mount zone for sure.
Well, it's
as
like,
opposed to a demo track, which is
I'm sure it wasn't by accident, but it's sort of like a match made in heaven, you know,
Right.
like a ski like the M7 Mantra with four radius
Yeah.
drive and the super precise binding. It's just like exaggerating being able to feel all the different intricacies of the ski.
Yeah, that was an interesting setup for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Bob, you brought a bunch of questions.
I have some questions. We covered a lot of it, though,
I kinda figured.
within this conversation. But yeah, I kind of wanted to ask you a general binding question about delta or ramp angle. First and foremost, like which term do you use, and are they interchangeable?
No, but I'll let Andy answer.
Yes, and no, I think they're not interchangeable, because the difference is the boot sole length.
Yeah.
I mean, the delta, I think you're referring to the difference in millimeters between toe and heel.
Yeah.
And of course, let's say a guy, one and the same binding with the same delta, a guy with a small or a guy with a big boot sole has a ramp angle as a result, like a girl, for example, that has a super short boot sole size.
Yeah.
So from the same delta, depending on the boot sole size, there are resulting different ramp angles.
So how do you go about determining what you want that drop to be in a binding like this? And what type of performance do you look to get out of creating that difference?
Definitely for, let's say, what you're influencing with the ramp angle a lot is how you initiate the turn, and how intuitively you can feel the initiation. We try to go somehow in the middle because we don't really know, of course, what boot sole size in the end the customer will have. So you need to shoot somehow in the middle. When we test skis and bindings, it's a very interesting thing. In the test team, we have always minimum one or better two girls. One is on, or two of them are on super short race boots with a 270 boot size. And we also have guys that are tall and have boot sole sizes in the 330s. So when ski testing, we always take very much emphasis on having really the variety of boot sole sizes there in the test every time we go out. And we go out every week, once or even twice all year long. The interesting thing is normally the team is close together with the feedback. And if we have deviations within the team, it's always a cluster sizes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The guys with the small sizes and the guys with the longer boots, they all build in clusters then if we have deviations. And then you decide following basically the ski length and what kind of consumer you typically see more on that length and on that product, and then you follow that direction. So yes, that has an influence, and we try to tailor it a little bit as good as you can.
That makes a lot of sense, the shooting for the middle.
Yeah, because different boots have different angles in them too. So it's not just the length of the boot, and we kind of end up having discussions with, customers of ours all the time that are very interested in ramp angles, and we're like, I don't know, I feel like I always end up punting on the question because we don't know all the variables involved, and it's hard to kind of determine what's best for someone. And at the end of the day, personal preference factors in as well.
Yeah, I've always felt it's more of a personal journey figuring that out.
Yeah.
And I've also, I think not famously, but I've always thought that just go ski.
Right.
And don't overthink it too much. But if you do want to overthink it, and I completely understand wanting to get really technical with things, if you do want to do this, you kind of have to do it on your own. Like, I can't answer that question for you, whether you're going to like a lot of ramp angle or neutral.
Right.
That's personal.
There are so many influence or so many factors, I think, so many variables influencing what comes out in the end.
Right.
What feeling for skiing comes out, and it's like you said, ramp angle is one, but then it's also what ramp angle makes sense on which ski is always heavily influenced by what kind of skier is on top, what is he looking for, what boot is he using. Then the tuning of the skis plays a big role. It's also this old discussion with detune the very tips or just have them sharp to the very foremost point. And you have like 15 variables going together, and that's why it's basically impossible to say this or that is the perfect one. But in general, I would say we have played a lot with ramp angles, and we have become flatter than it was maybe 20 years ago. So the delta is smaller than 20 years ago, but it's probably also a little bit bigger again than 10 years ago. So it depends also very much on the target group, I think.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there could be hours of angle discussions and technical outcomes of these possibilities.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
We won't keep Andy that long.
Yeah.
Bob, you got any other heavy-hitting questions?
I guess I was wondering how you decided on 9 millimeters, and if you had played around, or is it possible to even go lower, or if you were thinking of that was it. You went as low as engineering could possibly get you.
I'm going to say that that's my guess, based on what he's said thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. You're guessing right. In the end, you need a certain stand height, especially if you think about the grip walk boot soles. The grip walk in the toe needs a certain ramp or to cover all these grip walk boots, and that ramp needs a certain height. So 9 millimeters is pretty much what was possible from a technical functional perspective. On the heel, you also have to have a certain space to bring all the brake mechanism under the foot, and that brings you back to the ramp angle. If you don't want to over exaggerate the delta, you have to have a certain stand height just required by the brake mechanism that needs a certain space.
So you don't foresee Look or Solomon or Tyrolia coming out with a 7 millimeter stand height binding next year in response to an M-Werks?
I bet it won't be next year.
Actually, I don't think so, no. Because we can then talk about maybe being probably another millimeter lower. But moment, competition average is 19 millimeters. And we are now at 9. So I would say those 10 millimeters are also not so super easy to get. And therefore, I'm doubting that it's super easy to get even 2 millimeters lower. And then where is the big advantage? So the effort would get really high to get maybe 1 or 2 millimeters less. But for what advantage then? Because then you just talk about 2 millimeters or 1 even, and that's kind of.
And I would assume each additional millimeter is getting exponentially more challenging from an engineering perspective, and thus exponentially more expensive.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could have a $10,000 binding that's real low.
Yeah, not only really more expensive, but you're really sacrificing then the function of the brake.
Yeah, durability.
Well, good for you for going out and getting those.
And then actually it's not so much a cost thing, but it's a price that the consumer then pays with a brake that's not really reliable doing its job anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that was fascinating. I don't have any more questions. Bob, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm just, I guess I'm proud of you for going out and getting those extra millimeters closer to the ski. And I think that people are going to be really impressed when they get on them at how much of a difference that makes. Like, I think that's just a
it's
big
so cool.
accomplishment.
And not many people have tried it yet.
Right.
There's not that much information about it. I feel like we're some of the few.
Yes, I would say the next 1, 2, 3 years are going to be really exciting, because when this product hits the market, I mean, it's pretty clear that it won't be only that high price pinnacle M-Werks version. It won't be reserved to that.
Yeah, cool. Well, Andy, thank you very much. We'll wrap up this video and we'll say goodbye. That doesn't mean you have to go right now. We'll say goodbye to the audience, and then we'll say goodbye separately to you. But yeah, that was really, really fun. Hopefully the next time we chat, we can do it in person.
Yes.
You know, whether you come here or we go there, or we'll meet in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean somewhere. So yeah, thank you. Bob, you got anything to add?
No, thanks, Andy. It's always great to speak with someone who knows just a lot more about this stuff than we do.
Yeah.
Always good.
To those watching on YouTube, let us know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Bob, you want to give your classic bye?
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, guys.